You sound like you're still enjoying it. Here's my question. Where is that line? Because you say you draw the line somewhere. The question is, where is that line when it comes to enforcing laws?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the unique thing about law enforcement, sheriffs specifically, is they have to be in touch with their community, right, to decide or to determine what the community wants on enforcement. But this particular law, and you mentioned earlier, unconstitutional, generally when a law gets passed, there are legal challenges and it gets ruled either constitutional or unconstitutional. The problem I have with this particular law is it's unconstitutional on its face.
And I need to be clear here because we haven't explained to people the law that we're talking about here. I believe you're referring to the red flag law. That's okay. The red flag law, the ability for a law enforcement to come to somebody's house, knock on the door and say, we're here to confiscate your guns because an ex-spouse, a neighbor, somebody said you're dangerous, you're crazy or whatever, right? A red flag law that has been signed by Governor Gretchen Whitmer here in Michigan. That's the laws we're talking about, correct?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
So go on.
So essentially, you hit the nail on the head, right? So the judge orders weapons to be seized, and then we go seize those weapons prior to any due process hearing. So in other words, I show up at your house tonight and say, hey, you got to give me your guns. And you're like, well, wait a minute. What are you talking about? And not only in the law, not only will the order say seize the guns, but there's an anticipatory search warrant that goes along with it. So if you say, hey, no, pal, that's not going to happen, you need to have a search warrant. Well, by the way, so I pull that out of my back pocket, I get a search warrant. The other unique thing about the law, as it is in Michigan, is it's weapons that you have in possession or control. So it could be weapons that you don't even own. So in other words, if I'm up at, if I spend, 2 months up at your place, on the lake in the summer or whatever, and I know that you have guns there, that would be under my control, right? So I'm going to take somebody else's property too. I mean, the whole thing is just insane.
I didn't even know that part. I didn't even realize that part.
Yeah.
So let's say here's a good example. Happens in Michigan every year. The guys march off, men and women, march off to deer camp in the middle of November.
Yep.
And so all of a sudden, my neighbor says, well, that's that Gruber. He's a bad guy. They probably do. I don't know. But Gruber, he's nuts. And then you have to come to deer camp, and here's 8 guys in deer camp, and you're going to confiscate all the guns in deer camp? That's what the order would require, right?
The order said possession or control includes, but is not limited to, actual possession or constructive possession by which the individual has the right to control the firearm, even though the firearm is in a different location than the individual. Possession or control does not require the individual to own the firearm. Are you kidding me?
Wow.